Jake Morrison stood in the center of the massive chamber. The room was so large that he could barely see the walls. Above him, 47 different alien species sat in a giant circle. Each one looked down at the small human delegation standing on the floor below. Behind Jake stood 3 other humans. Lisa Kane was a scientist who studied alien life. Ben Hayes was a military officer with sharp eyes and a stern face. Claire Matthews knew everything about trade and business. All 4 of them wore simple blue uniforms that represented Earth. The chamber was beautiful in a cold way. The walls glowed with soft light. Strange symbols floated in the air, translating every word into hundreds of languages. The ceiling was so high that clouds could form up there. This was the Galactic Council, the group that had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years. A tall being made of crystal spoke first. Its name was Thexnor, and it was the speaker for the Valorians. The creature stood at least 12 feet tall, and light bounced off its body in rainbow colors. When it moved, it made a sound like wind chimes. So the humans wished to join the council as full members? Thexnor's voice echoed through the chamber. How very amusing. Sounds filled the room. The Crithians, who looked like giant insects, made clicking noises with their mouths. The Velosians, creatures with many tentacles, hummed in a way that sounded like mockery. The Sarnak, who were covered in scales like reptiles, hissed and showed their teeth. Jake kept his face calm. He had expected this. Earth had prepared him for rejection, but they had also told him to try, to be polite, to show humanity's best face to the galaxy. We have reviewed your application, Thexnor continued. The crystal being picked up a data pad with one of its many limbs. Your species has been traveling in space for barely 200 years. Most races in this council had already mastered their own solar systems before your ancestors even discovered fire. The laughter grew louder. Jake felt Ben tense behind him, but the commander stayed quiet. We understand we are young, Jake said. His voice was steady and calm. That is exactly why we are here. We want to contribute. We want to learn from you. A Velosian floating near the front of the chamber spoke next. Its tentacles waved in the air like underwater plants. Contribute? What could a species of aggressive primitives possibly offer this council? Your achievements are laughable. End quote. 17. The creature's skin changed colors as it spoke, flashing from blue to red to purple. Jake had learned that this meant the Velosian was feeling superior and amused. You fight amongst yourselves constantly. The Velosian continued. Your technology is stolen from others. Your culture is nothing but chaos and violence. Lisa stepped forward. She was about to speak, but another voice interrupted her. You discovered faster than light travel by accident. A Sarnak council member stood up, its tail swishing behind it. You stumbled upon it like children finding a toy. We have species here who created it through mathematics and theory. 3,000 years ago. Ben's jaw tightened. His hands formed fists at his sides, but he kept them there. Jake slightly raised his hand. A signal for everyone to stay calm. Claire tried a different approach. She pulled up a holographic display showing Earth's economic data. Our manufacturing capabilities could benefit the Council's economy. We have created new methods of production that what? Thexnor's crystal body seemed to flash brighter. Flood our markets with cheap, poorly made goods? We have automated systems that have perfected production for longer than your species has known how to write. More laughter. It came from all directions now. Jake felt like he was standing in the center of a storm of contempt. A floating being made of pure energy, an Etherian, pulsed with light. And you mentioned cultural exchange in your application. What culture could you possibly share? Your music is just noise. Your art is crude and simple. Your books are filled with nothing but violence and base emotions. Jake pulled out his prepared documents. He had brought proposals for everything. Trade agreements that would help both sides. Scientific exchange programs, where humans could learn from advanced species while sharing their own discoveries. Cultural programs, to help different species understand each other. For 3 hours, the council continued. Every single proposal was rejected. Every human achievement was dismissed as unimportant or accidental. Every hope was crushed. Jake talked about human medicine. We have made significant advances in treating diseases that affect multiple species. Don. Jake talked about human medicine. 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 Your medicine is barbaric, a council member said. You still use chemical compounds. We have moved beyond such primitive methods. Ben mentioned Earth's defensive capabilities. We could contribute to council security operations. You mean your weapons? Thexnor asked. Yes. Humans are very good at building weapons. That is because you are constantly at war with each other. The council has maintained peace for millennia. We do not need your violence. Lisa tried to explain human scientific methods. Our approach to problem solving is unique. We often find creative solutions that OTA, -d, creative? The word was spoken with such scorn that it made Lisa stop talking. You mean random? You try things until something works. That is not science. That is guessing. Claire showed economic projections. The council called them unrealistic. Jake mentioned human exploration of unknown space. The council said it was reckless. Lisa talked about Earth's diverse biosphere. The council said dozens of other worlds were more interesting. Every door was closed. Every path was blocked. Finally, after hours of this, Thexnor raised a limb. The chamber fell silent. The crystal being seemed to glow with satisfaction. The council has made its decision, Thexnor announced. Humanity is denied full membership. Jake had expected this, but hearing it still felt like a weight on his chest. You may retain your status as a provisional protectorate, Thexnor continued. This means you are under council oversight and regulation. You will pay the standard tariffs on all trade. You will follow our restrictions. You will submit to our security protocols. In perhaps 500 years, we may reconsider your application. If your species survives that long. Unhardy. The chamber erupted with sounds of approval. The different species made their various noises of agreement. Some banged appendages on their seats. Others flashed lights or changed colors. Jake stood quietly for a long moment. He looked down at the documents in his hands. Months of work. Hundreds of people had contributed to these proposals. Earth's best minds had crafted every word, every number, every idea, and it had all been rejected in 3 hours. He carefully placed the documents back in his case. He closed it with a soft click that seemed loud in his ears. Then, he turned to his delegation. Let's go home, he said quietly. The 4 humans walked toward the exit. Their footsteps echoed in the huge chamber. Behind them, the council was already moving on to other business. The human application was forgotten before they even left the room. As they walked down the long corridor leading away from the chamber, none of them spoke. There was nothing to say. They had been dismissed. Humanity had been judged and found wanting. But Jake's mind was already working. Earth had sent him here with 2 sets of instructions. The first was to gain membership if possible. The second was what to do if they were rejected. He pulled out his communication device and sent a single coded message back to Earth. It was just 3 words. Begin Phase 2. The message went out to every human colony within 2 days. It was not angry. It was not emotional. It was just a simple policy change sent through normal government channels. Kate Sullivan was the director of Earth's diplomatic corps. She sent the message herself from her office in Geneva. The memo was short and professional. Effective immediately, all cultural exchange programs with council species are suspended. All joint research projects are terminated. All trade agreements will be completed as written, then not renewed. The message reached Mars colony first. Ryan Foster was a scientist working in the largest fusion research laboratory outside of Earth. He had been working with a team of Valorian scientists for 2 years. They were close to a major breakthrough in clean energy production. When Ryan received the message, he read it 3 times. Then he walked into the main lab where his Valorian colleagues were working. "I need to speak with all of you," he said. The Valorians looked up from their work. Their crystal bodies refracted the lab lights into rainbow patterns on the walls. The lead researcher, whose name was Zextal, approached Ryan. "Is something wrong?" Zextal asked. "The program is ending," Ryan said. His voice was calm and even. "You will need to leave." Zextal made a sound like breaking glass, which meant confusion. "But we are so close to finishing." "Another month, and we will have the new fusion reactor design completed." "I understand," Ryan replied. "But the decision has been made by Earth's government. Your transportation back to Valorian space has already been arranged." "This makes no sense," another Valorian scientist said. "We are partners in this research." "The partnership is ending," Ryan said. He felt bad about this. He liked his Valorian colleagues. They were brilliant scientists, but orders were orders. "You have 3 days to pack your equipment and personal belongings." On Europa Station, Commander Nina Cross was dealing with a similar situation. The station orbited Jupiter's ice moon and monitored a region of space called the Vortex Gate. This was an important area where several council species had major trade routes. The station had been jointly operated by humans and Crithians for 5 years. The insect-like Crithians were experts at long-range sensors. Humans were good at quick decision-making. Together, they made a good team. Nina called a meeting with all the Crithian officers. There were 12 of them, and they gathered in the conference room with confused clicking sounds. "This station will continue to operate," Nina explained. "But it will be operated solely by human personnel from now on. You are all being reassigned." A Crithian officer named Klixvar stepped forward. Its antennae twitched with agitation. "This station monitors the safety of 4 council species trade routes. You cannot simply remove us." "We are not shutting down the station," Nina said. "We are simply ending the joint operation. You are welcome to establish your own monitoring station if you wish. We will continue our monitoring independently. Also, welcome, but the cost." Klixvar's mandibles clicked rapidly. "It took 3 species to fund this operation. How can you afford to run it alone?" Nina just nodded. "That is our concern now. Your shuttle departs in 6 hours. Please, have your belongings ready." The pattern repeated across all of human space. On colony worlds, research stations, trade hubs, and diplomatic posts, humans began the quiet process of separation. Trade ships honored their existing contracts perfectly. Captain Sam Rodriguez commanded a cargo hauler called the Morning Star. He delivered his current cargo to a Velocian trade station right on schedule. But when the station master offered him a new contract, Sam politely declined. "I am sorry, but we are reorganizing our trade routes," he said. "We will not be servicing this station anymore." The Velocian station master, a being called Ulash, was surprised. "But you have been coming here for 3 years. We have a good arrangement." "We did have a good arrangement," Sam agreed. "But my company has decided to focus on different routes now. I will offer better rates," Ulash said quickly. "It is not about the rates," Sam replied. "It is about company policy. I wish you well." He ended the communication and set course for the outer colonies, far from council space. The Velocian Trade Consortium noticed the change within a month. Their economic analysts prepared a report for the leadership. "Human ships are not bidding on any new contracts," the report stated. "They are completing current obligations. But they have withdrawn from all future trade opportunities." The head of the consortium read the report and made a dismissive gesture with his tentacles. So they are sulking. Let them. They need our markets more than we need their cheap goods. But then the scientific community started noticing problems. Grace Winters was a quantum physics researcher working on a project with 5 different council species. They were developing a new form of communication using quantum entanglement. If successful, it would allow instant communication across any distance in the galaxy. Grace sent out a brief message to all her collaborators. Our institution has decided to focus on internal research projects. We are withdrawing from this collaboration. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your time. A Sarnak physicist named Vextar immediately sent a reply. Dr. Winters, we were about to test the prototype. Why are you stopping now? Grace's response was professional but short. We are pursuing different research directions. I wish you success in your continued work. But this could change everything. This could revolutionize galactic communication. I hope your team achieves that breakthrough, Grace wrote back. Then she closed the communication channel and did not respond to any more messages. All across human space, the withdrawals continued. Humans were polite. They were professional. They met every legal requirement. But they offered nothing extra. No favors. No additional help. No collaboration beyond what was absolutely required by existing contracts. Cultural exchange programs shut down. Human musicians stopped touring council worlds. Human artists withdrew their works from galactic exhibitions. Human writers stopped submitting to council publishers. Joint military exercises were cancelled. Human observers left council security stations. Human liaison officers returned home. Within 6 weeks, the council began receiving reports from all its member species. The humans were still there. They still traded when required by contract. They still maintained diplomatic relations at the most basic level. But the warmth was gone. The partnership was over. Ambassador Jake Morrison was called back before the council. He made the trip alone this time. Thexnor was clearly angry. The crystal being's body flashed with harsh red light. What is the meaning of this behavior? You are violating the spirit of cooperation that— We are violating nothing, Jake interrupted quietly. Every single contract is being honored. Every treaty is being followed to the letter. We are simply choosing not to engage beyond our legal obligations. This is childish, a Velosian representative shouted. You are acting like spoiled children. Jake's expression did not change. We were told we had nothing to contribute. We were told our science was primitive, our culture was worthless, and our presence was barely tolerable. We are simply accepting your assessment. You cannot just isolate yourselves from the galactic community. We are not isolating, Jake said calmly. We are participating exactly as much as you indicated you valued our participation. You said we were primitives with nothing to offer. We are saving you the burden of dealing with us. Thexnor leaned forward. This is unacceptable. What exactly is unacceptable? Jake asked. We are following every rule. We are meeting every obligation. We are simply choosing not to give you anything beyond what is required. Is there a law that says we must be your friends? The council members looked at each other. This was not what they had expected. They had expected anger, maybe, or threats, or demands for an apology. But this calm, quiet withdrawal was something they had never encountered before. They had no response prepared for it. Jake gathered his things and prepared to leave. If there is nothing else, I have other duties to attend to. As he walked out, the council chamber remained silent. For the first time in 3,000 years, they did not know what to do. 6 months had passed since humanity went silent. The first real problems started to appear across council space. On the Sarnak homeworld, a crisis was growing in the agricultural zones. A fungal disease was spreading through the main food crops. The Sarnak had dealt with this fungus before, but this was a new variant. It was resistant to all their standard treatments. The Sarnak had been working on a solution with a human scientist named Kevin Park. Kevin was an expert in studying fungi and plant diseases. He had been developing a new treatment that used modified bacteria to fight the fungus. The research was almost complete. When the Sarnak Science Ministry tried to contact Kevin, they received a response from Earth's Agricultural Research Institute. The message was brief and polite. Dr. Park is no longer assigned to external projects. We wish you success in resolving your agricultural challenges. The Sarnak officials were shocked. They sent urgent messages. They explained that their food supply was at risk. They offered to pay any amount of money for the research data. The response from Earth was the same each time. Dr. Park's research is proprietary to Earth institutions. We are not sharing this data with external parties. The Sarnak had to develop their own solution. But their scientists estimated it would take at least 3 years. The fungus kept spreading. Food became scarce. Prices rose. People went hungry. The Sarnak had never had to deal with this alone before. They had always assumed the galactic scientific community would help them. Now they understood that help was a choice, not an obligation. The Crithian commercial fleet faced a different kind of problem. 3 years earlier, they had started using navigation software designed by a human company. The software was 15% more efficient than the Crithians' own systems. It saved time and fuel on every trip. The license agreement for the software had expired. The Crithians expected to renew it like they did every year. But when they contacted the human company, they got an unexpected answer. Dan Cooper was the company representative. He explained the situation in a polite but firm voice. We have decided to focus on domestic clients only. We are not renewing any external licenses at this time. Dan Klicksmar, the fleet coordinator, could not believe it. We will pay double the previous licensing fee. I appreciate the offer, Dan replied. But this is not about money. It is about our strategic direction as a company. Triple. We will pay triple the rate. I understand this is frustrating for you, Dan said. But our decision is final. I hope your own navigation systems serve you well. The Crithians had to switch back to their old navigation software. Immediately, travel times increased. Ships took longer routes. Fuel costs went up. The entire Crithian trade network became less competitive. They started losing business to other species. But the real shock came from the Velocian medical community. A disease outbreak occurred on one of the Velocian colony worlds. It was a variant of an illness they had seen before. But this new version was different. It was resistant to every treatment they had. People were dying, and the numbers were growing every day. The Velocians knew that a human doctor named Lauren Hayes had developed a new approach to fighting resistant diseases. She used modified viruses that attacked bacteria. It was a technique that worked when traditional medicine failed. The Velocian Health Directorate sent an urgent message to Earth Medical Command. We need Dr. Hayes's phage therapy protocols immediately. Thousands of our citizens are dying. And they were 7D in the 7. The response came from Director Kate Sullivan. Dr. Hayes's research is currently proprietary to Earth Medical Research Institute. Per our standard policy, we do not share proprietary medical research with external parties. The Velocian official who received this message felt something like rage and disbelief mixed together. People are dying. You are condemning them to death. Kate's response was calm and measured. I understand you are facing a terrible situation. I sincerely hope your medical community can find a solution. However, we are not withholding anything we are legally obligated to share. We are simply choosing not to share our latest research. This is murder. No, Kate said quietly. This is exactly what the Council recommended. You told us our science was primitive and derivative. Surely your advanced medical community can solve this problem without our assistance. The Velocians worked desperately to find their own cure. It took them 4 months. By the time they had a working treatment, 30,000 colonists had died. Later analysis showed that the human treatment could have saved most of them. The news of these incidents spread through Council space. Species started to realize that small problems were appearing everywhere. And all of these problems had one thing in common. They involved areas where humans had been helping, and now that help was gone. A Valorian trade station had maintenance issues because the human engineer who serviced their life support systems was gone. An Etherian research institute could not complete an experiment because the human technician who operated their equipment had left. A Sarnak military base had communications problems because the human specialist who maintained their network was no longer there. None of these problems were catastrophic by themselves. But together, they created a pattern. Humans had been filling small gaps all across council space. Now those gaps were empty, and the problems were piling up. Council meetings became tense. Representatives argued about what to do. Some wanted to force the humans to cooperate. Others said that would only make things worse. A few quietly admitted that maybe they had made a mistake. Dex Nor called for an emergency session. The crystal being's body had lost some of its usual brightness. This situation cannot continue. We must bring the humans back to the negotiating table. On what basis? Asked a Crithian representative. They are not breaking any laws. They are fulfilling every obligation. Then we offer them what they wanted, Dexnor said. We grant them full council membership. Clearly, they are more important to our operations than we initially assessed. A message was sent to Earth offering humanity full membership in the Galactic Council. The offer included an apology for the previous rejection. It promised equal status with all other council species. The council waited for Earth's response. Many were confident the humans would accept. After all, this was what they had wanted. Jake Morrison sent the reply. It was short. Thank you for your offer. After careful consideration, humanity must decline. We have decided that our interests are better served by pursuing an independent path. We wish the Council well in all its endeavors. The message ended there. No explanation. No demands. No negotiation. The council chamber fell into shocked silence when the message was read aloud. They had offered everything the humans had asked for. And the humans had said no. What do they want? A Velosian asked. What are they trying to achieve? But nobody had an answer. The humans were not threatening anyone. They were not demanding anything. They were just going their own way. For a council that had governed the galaxy for 3,000 years, this was an entirely new experience. They had dealt with rebellions before. They had handled threats and demands. They knew how to negotiate and compromise. But how do you deal with someone who simply does not want to be part of your system anymore? Someone who is not asking for anything, just choosing to leave? The council had no strategy for this. And as they sat in confused silence, more reports came in. The Etherians were having an energy crisis. The Valorian trade empire was losing market share. The Great Research Archive was missing crucial data. The cracks were starting to become breaks. And the humans were nowhere to be found. 1 year after humanity walked away from the council, the crisis reached a breaking point. The Etherian energy crisis was the worst. The Etherians were beings made of pure energy, and their entire civilization ran on massive fusion reactors. They had perfected this technology thousands of years ago, but now their reactors were old, and the fuel they needed was becoming impossible to find. 3 years earlier, a human engineer named Matt Crawford had proposed a new reactor design. It used common fuel instead of rare isotopes. It was 40% more efficient than the Etherian reactors. Matt had presented his design at a scientific conference. The Etherians had looked at his plans and laughed. Crude, but somewhat interesting, they had said. Then they filed the design away and forgot about it. Now, with energy shortages causing blackouts across their worlds, the Etherians pulled out Matt's old proposal. They tried to build his reactor design. That was when they discovered the problem. The crude human design was actually incredibly complex. It required manufacturing techniques the Etherians did not have. It needed special metal alloys they did not know how to make. It involved dozens of small innovations that Matt had created, but never fully written down. He had assumed he would be there to help build it. The Etherian Energy Council sent an urgent message to Earth. "We need Engineer Crawford. We will pay any price for his assistance." Matt's response came through official channels. "I am currently committed to several projects in the Sol system. I am not available for external consulting. We will pay 10 times the standard rate. It is not about payment. I am simply not interested in working outside human space. I am sure your engineers can figure it out from the basic plans I submitted." But they could not. The Etherians tried for months. Their energy crisis grew worse. They had to shut down entire cities to save power. Their economy started to collapse. Meanwhile, the Valorian trade empire was facing its own disaster. For 800 years, they had dominated galactic commerce. Their trade networks connected every council world. They had the best routes, the best prices, the most reliable service. But now something was changing. Human shipping companies were offering direct service to the independent systems, the small worlds that had never joined the council. These were the fringe worlds, poor planets that the council had always ignored. Captain Alex Martinez commanded a cargo ship called the Dawn Runner. His ship hauled goods between Earth and the fringe worlds. Business was better than it had ever been. A merchant on one of the fringe worlds asked him a question. "Are you not worried the council will punish you?" Alex laughed. "We are not breaking any laws. We just do not operate in council space anymore. And there is a whole galaxy out here that the council does not control." The fringe worlds had always been isolated. The council charged them high tariffs and gave them poor service. Now the humans offered them fair prices and reliable shipping. The choice was easy. The Valorian trade empire watched its profits drop month after month. They tried lowering prices, but they could not match the human rates. They tried improving service, but they had grown slow and bureaucratic over the centuries. The humans were faster and more flexible. The council was losing influence in the outer regions of the galaxy. And they were losing it to a species they had called primitive just a year ago. But the worst blow came to the scientific community. For 3,000 years, the Great Archive on Valoris Prime had been the center of galactic knowledge. Every species contributed their research to the archive. Scientists from across the galaxy used it to build on each other's work. It was the foundation of Council scientific achievement. Humans had been enthusiastic contributors to the archive. In just 2 centuries, they had uploaded 40,000 research papers, 17,000 experimental procedures, and massive amounts of raw data. All of it was removed in a single day. Dr. Beth Morgan supervised the extraction herself. She was Earth's chief science officer, and she personally made sure every piece of human research was withdrawn from the archive. The Valorian archivists were in shock. "You cannot do this. This knowledge belongs to everyone." "Actually," Beth said calmly, "it belongs to the researchers who created it, and they have chosen to withdraw it from the shared archive. It is all being transferred to the new Human Research Collective database." "Your collective? What is that?" "It is a shared research database," Beth explained. "Humans and our research partners will have full access to it." "Your partners? What partners?" Beth smiled slightly. "The fringe worlds have been very interested in collaborative research. It turns out they have some fascinating insights that the Council overlooked. The gaps in the archive were devastating. Humans had been especially productive in practical sciences. They excelled at materials engineering, adaptive technologies, and what they called making things work with whatever you have. These were areas that required creativity and flexible thinking. Dozens of ongoing council research projects suddenly found themselves missing critical data. A Sarnak scientist sat at his workstation, staring at his incomplete dataset. The human preliminary studies were the foundation for all of this. Without them, we have nothing. The project was canceled. This happened again and again across hundreds of research initiatives. The council held another emergency session. Thex Nor looked dimmer than ever. The crystal being's voice sounded tired. We must find a solution. The humans are crippling our economy, our research, our infrastructure. They are not doing anything to us, a Crithian representative said bitterly. They are just not helping us anymore. Ever. Then we force them to help, Thexnor said. Economic sanctions. Trade embargoes. We cut them off completely. On what legal grounds? Another council member asked. They are not part of the council. They are following all existing treaties. We have no authority to sanction them. Then we threaten military action. The chamber went quiet. It was a Velosian elder who finally spoke the truth that everyone was thinking. Threaten them with what? Our military forces are designed for peacekeeping and defense. We have not fought a real war in over 1,000 years. But the humans have been fighting each other for their entire history. Their military experience is vast. Do we really want to start a conflict with them? And 2. No one answered. The council had maintained peace for so long that they had forgotten how to fight. The humans had never stopped learning. What about their economy? Someone suggested. They need our markets. Do they? A Crithian asked. Look at the reports. Human trade with the fringe worlds has increased by 300%. They are building a new economic sphere that does not include us. They are turning the fringe worlds against us. No, the Velosian elder said quietly. They are offering the fringe worlds something we never did. Partnership, respect, fair treatment. And those worlds are accepting. The reality was settling over the council like a cold weight. They had thought the humans needed them. They had assumed their own superiority was obvious and permanent. They had believed the galaxy would always revolve around the council. But the humans had shown them something terrifying. You do not need permission to become important. You just need to offer something valuable to someone who needs it. And now the council was the one in need. 2 years had passed since the council laughed at humanity's application. Now Jake Morrison stood before them again. But everything was different. Behind Jake stood representatives from 47 different species. These were not council members. They were delegates from the fringe worlds, the small and poor planets that the council had always ignored. Together, these worlds represented 1/3 of all inhabited systems in the galaxy. Jake's voice was calm and clear as he made his announcement. We have come to inform you of the formation of the Alliance of Independent Systems. Thexnor leaned forward quickly. The crystal being's body flashed with alarm. You are creating a rival organization to the council? No, Jake said. We are creating an alternative. The council is welcome to continue governing its member species. We simply offer a different path for those who want it. A Sarnak representative stood up, hissing with anger. You are trying to divide the galaxy, a new voice spoke up. It belonged to Ambassador Kree, a reptilian being from a fringe world called Talus. The council had always dismissed his species as too primitive to matter. The galaxy was already divided, Kree said. His voice was steady and strong. It was divided between those the council valued and those it did not. The humans simply offered us what you never did. They offered us partnership instead of control. The presentations began. Claire Matthews showed the economic data. The Alliance had created new trade networks that bypassed all council tariffs. Trade between Alliance members had grown by 340% in just 2 years. More importantly, Claire said, the wealth is distributed fairly. Every member species has seen real economic growth. Not just the largest and most powerful members. Everyone benefits. Lisa Kane presented the scientific achievements. In 2 years, Alliance research teams have published over 15,000 joint papers. We have made breakthroughs in fusion power, quantum computing, and medical treatments. All research is shared freely among Alliance members. Ben Hayes showed the security structure. The Alliance does not have a central military command. Instead, We have created a mutual defense framework. Each species contributes according to their abilities. It is more flexible and more effective than a single unified force. The council members looked uncomfortable. This was not what they had expected. They had thought the humans would come back begging for membership. Instead, the humans had built something new. Thexnor tried to regain control of the situation. This is all very impressive for such young species. But the Council has maintained galactic stability for 3,000 years. How long will your alliance last when you face real challenges? Jake smiled slightly. It was the first real emotion he had shown. That is a fair question. But I think you should ask the other alliance members. Not us. Ambassador Kree spoke again. The Council kept us stable by keeping us weak, by keeping us dependent on you, by making sure we could never challenge your power. The humans offered us something different. They offered us a chance to grow, to contribute, to matter. A small, furry species from the far rim stepped forward. The Council had never even bothered to learn their species' name. They had just called them the traders from Sector 447. The humans asked us what we wanted to be called, the small alien said. That was more respect than we received in 200 years of dealing with the Council. They treated us like equals. You treated us like servants. One by one, the Fringe World representatives spoke. They told stories of being ignored, overcharged, and dismissed by the Council. They talked about how the humans had approached them with offers of fair trade and genuine partnership. The pattern was clear. The Council had maintained order through hierarchy and power. The Alliance offered cooperation and mutual respect. And the small species of the galaxy were choosing the Alliance. Jake spoke again. We are not here to threaten the Council. We are not asking you to dissolve or change. We are simply informing you that the galaxy is bigger than you acknowledged. The species you dismissed as irrelevant have decided to work together. And if we oppose this alliance? Thexnor asked. There was a hint of threat in the crystal being's voice. Then you oppose it, Jake said calmly. But we will not respond with violence or threats. We will simply continue building something better. The Alliance is open to any species that wishes to join us. That includes current Council members who feel they might be better served by our approach. He gathered his materials and prepared to leave. Then he paused and turned back to face Thexnor directly. 2 years ago, you laughed when we asked to join you as equals. You are welcome to keep laughing. We will be too busy building to notice. The human delegation and all the Fringe World representatives walked out together. Their footsteps echoed in the silent chamber. Behind them, chaos erupted. Several Council species immediately demanded information about joining the Alliance. Others called for military action against humanity. Some argued that the Council needed to reform and change to compete with this new organization. But Thexnor just sat silently. The crystal being had lived for 900 years. It had seen the Council grow and prosper. It had watched 1,000 species petition for membership. But in all that time, Thexnor had never seen what the humans had done. They had walked away from power and created something entirely new. They had turned rejection into opportunity. They had built alliances with the species everyone else had forgotten. Perhaps, Thexnor thought, the humans had taught the galaxy a lesson after all, just not the lesson the Council had expected to teach. 5 years later, the galaxy looked very different. The Alliance had grown to include 73 species. The Council still existed and still had power. But it was no longer the only authority in the galaxy. Jake Morrison retired from diplomatic service. He took a teaching position at the new Alliance Academy on Earth's moon. His first lecture was always the same. Power is not about forcing others to obey you, he told his students. The classroom was filled with humans and aliens working together. Real power is about giving people the choice to work with you because they want to. A young student raised their hand. Ambassador Morrison, did you want revenge against the Council? Did you want to hurt them for rejecting humanity? Jake shook his head. Revenge is expensive and rarely satisfying. We did something better. We built an alternative. We proved there was another way. And we let the results speak for themselves. What happened to the Council? Jake pulled up a star map. It showed both Council space and Alliance space. The borders overlapped now. Some species held membership in both organizations. The old rigid divisions were breaking down. They are learning, Jake said simply. Slowly. But they are learning. Some of them have even apologized for how they treated us. Did you accept their apologies? We did, Jake said. But we also kept building. Because the best response to being underestimated is not anger or revenge. It is achievement. He looked out at his students. They came from dozens of different species. Some were from Council worlds. Some were from the fringe. Some were human. All of them were here to learn. The Council laughed when we walked away, Jake said. But we walked away to build something better. That silence you heard? That was us getting to work. The classroom was quiet as students absorbed the lesson. Then they opened their books and got to work too. There was a galaxy to build, and everyone was welcome to help.